The warning light blinked red on the control panel, but Captain Scott Palmer did not notice it right away. He was too busy watching the stars outside his window. After 3 months in deep space, he had learned to appreciate the quiet moments. The cargo ship Wanderer was not fancy, and the work was not exciting, but it paid well and let him think. His co-pilot, Amy Martinez, saw the light first. She leaned forward in her seat and tapped the screen with one finger. Her dark eyes narrowed as she read the message. "Scott, we have a distress beacon, close range." Scott turned away from the window and looked at the screen. The beacon was strong, which meant it was nearby. He pulled up the navigation map and frowned. "There is nothing out here. We are 3 systems away from Haven Point Colony, nothing else for light years." "The beacon says it is from Haven Point," Amy said. She adjusted her headset and listened. "But I am not getting any voice transmission. Just the automated signal. Plot a course. Let us see what is going on." Haven Point was supposed to be one of the success stories. A small colony of about 200 people who had decided to build a life on the edge of explored space. They grew food, mined asteroids, and mostly kept to themselves. Scott had stopped there twice before to deliver supplies. Nice people, quiet. The kind who did not cause trouble. The Wanderer changed course and moved toward the beacon. It took them 4 hours to reach it. As they got closer, Amy started picking up other signals. Ships, lots of them. "Scott, I count at least 6 vessels, big ones, military-grade signatures." Her voice was tight with worry. "Military, out here." Scott felt a cold weight settle in his stomach. "Can you identify them?" "Working on it." Amy typed rapidly, comparing the signals against their database. After a moment, she went very still. "Scott, these are Corvian ships." The Corvians were bad news. Everyone knew that. They were a warrior species who believed that strength gave them the right to take what they wanted. Humanity had avoided a full war with them so far, but only by staying out of their territory, and by not looking too weak. "What are they doing at Haven Point?" Scott asked, though he already knew the answer would not be good. "I do not know, but Scott, I am not picking up any power signatures from those ships. They are all dark." "Dark? You mean they are powered down?" "No, I mean they are dead. No reactors, no life support, no nothing. They are just floating." Scott and Amy looked at each other. 6 Corvian warships, all dead in space near a human colony. This was not making any sense. "Get me a visual," Scott said. The main screen came alive with the image of Haven Point Colony. It was built into a large asteroid with domed sections on the surface and tunnels dug deep inside. Solar panels spread across the rock like silver flowers. Normally, the place would be lit up with ships coming and going from the small docking bay. But now it was quiet, too quiet. The lights were on, but nothing was moving, and floating around the colony like dead fish were the 6 Corvian warships. Even from this distance, Scott could see the damage. Huge holes torn in their hulls, scorch marks from weapons fire, debris fields spreading out in every direction. "What happened here?" Amy whispered. "I do not know, but we need to find out." Scott activated the communication system. "Haven Point Colony, this is the cargo vessel Wanderer. We received your distress beacon. Please respond." Silence. Just static on the line. He tried again. "Haven Point, this is Captain Palmer of the Wanderer. If anyone can hear me, please respond. We are here to help." More silence. Scott was about to try a 3rd time when the radio crackled. A voice came through, male, tired, with an accent Scott recognized as being from the Mars colonies. "Wanderer, this is Haven Point. We read you. Please maintain your distance." Scott felt relief flood through him. At least someone was alive. "Haven Point, what is your situation? We see damage in Corvian vessels. Do you need assistance?" There was a long pause. Then the voice said, "Wanderer, we appreciate your concern, but we need you to leave the area and report what you see to Earth Command. Do not approach the colony. Do not attempt to board any of the Corvian ships. Just leave and send help." "Are you under threat?" Scott asked. "Are the Corvians holding you hostage?" "No, the Corvians are all dead, all of them, every single one." The voice paused again. "That is why you need to leave. That is why you need to send help, because we killed them and we do not know what happens next." Scott felt his mouth go dry. 200 civilians against 6 warships, and the civilians had won. He looked at Amy and saw the same shock on her face. "How?" he asked. "How did you do it? Does it matter?" "They came here to take our home. We stopped them. Now please, Captain Palmer, just go. We have enough problems without adding you to the list." The radio went dead. Scott tried calling back, but there was no answer. He sat in his chair, staring at the screen, trying to make sense of what he had just heard. "We should do what they say," Amy said quietly. "Report this and let Earth Command handle it." "Yeah," Scott agreed. But he did not move. He kept staring at the colony and the dead ships around it. Something about this felt wrong. Not the battle. That made a horrible kind of sense. If the Corvians had attacked, the colonists would have fought back. But the way the man on the radio had sounded, not proud, not relieved, just tired and scared. "Amy, can you analyze those Corvian ships? Tell me what killed them." Amy hesitated, then nodded. "Sure. Give me a few minutes." While she worked, Scott pulled up everything he could find about Haven Point. The colony had been established 6 years ago by a mix of people. Some were farmers who wanted to grow crops in a place where big corporations could not bother them. Some were miners looking for rare minerals. Some were just people who wanted to live somewhere quiet. According to the records, there was nothing special about Haven Point. No military base, no secret research, no strategic value, just regular people living their lives. So why had the Corvians come here? And how had these regular people destroyed 6 warships? "Got something," Amy said. She put the analysis on the main screen. "The damage patterns are consistent with multiple weapon types. I am seeing hits from mining lasers, improvised explosive devices, and what looks like kinetic projectiles." "Mining lasers, like the ones they use for cutting rock." "Yeah. They are not meant for combat, but if you focus one on a ship hull long enough, it will cut through. The explosive devices look homemade. Probably mining charges modified to detonate on impact. And the kinetic projectiles could be anything. Chunks of metal accelerated to high speed." Scott leaned back in his chair. The colonists had used their mining equipment as weapons. They had turned tools into death. He felt a strange mix of admiration and unease. "There is something else," Amy said. "The damage is precise, almost surgical. Look at this ship here." She zoomed in on one of the Corvian vessels. The weapons fire targeted specific areas. The engines, the weapons, the life support. Nothing was wasted. Whoever did this knew exactly what they were doing. "You think there are military people down there? I think someone down there has military training. You do not take out 6 warships with mining equipment unless you really know what you are doing." Scott thought about that. Maybe some of the colonists were veterans. People who had served in Earth forces and then retired to Haven Point for a quiet life. If that was true, then maybe they had known how to fight when they needed to. But that still did not explain why the man on the radio had sounded so scared. You would think he would be relieved, maybe even a little proud. Instead, he had sounded like someone who had just done something terrible and was waiting for the consequences. "Send the report to Earth Command," Scott said finally. "But keep our position. I want to stay within range in case they need us." Amy nodded and started typing. After a moment she said, "Message sent. It will take about 6 hours to reach the nearest relay station. Earth Command should get it in about 12 hours after that." 18 hours, Scott muttered. A lot could happen in 18 hours. They settled in to wait. Amy made coffee. Scott tried to read a book on his tablet, but he could not focus. He kept glancing at the screen, watching the colony and the dead ships float in the darkness. 3 hours passed, then 4. Scott was starting to doze when Amy suddenly sat up straight. "Scott, we have another ship incoming, coming in fast." Scott was instantly alert. "Another Corvian, checking." Amy pulled up the sensor data. Her face went pale. "No, this one is bigger, much bigger, and it is broadcasting a Corvian military code. High priority. They sent reinforcements." "Looks like it." "ETA is 20 minutes. Scott grabbed the radio. "Haven Point, this is the Wanderer. You have another Corvian ship incoming. Large vessel, military codes. You need to prepare." There was a long silence. Then the same voice from before came through. "We know Wanderer. We have been tracking it for the last hour. Thank you for the warning. Do you need help? We can try to draw it away, buy you time to evacuate." "No, stay where you are. Do not interfere. If you try to help, you will just get yourself killed. But there are only 200 of you. That ship probably has 1,000 soldiers." "Yes, I know." The voice paused. "Captain Palmer, I need you to do something for me. When this is over, no matter what happens, I need you to tell Earth Command the truth. Tell them the Corvians attacked us first. Tell them we had no choice. Tell them we tried to avoid this." You are talking like you are going to lose. I am talking like I do not know what is going to happen next. None of us do. We did not plan for this. We did not want this, but here we are. The voice became firmer. Stay clear, Captain. That is an order. Haven point out. The radio went silent again. Scott sat there feeling helpless. He was just a cargo pilot. The Wanderer had no weapons, no armor, nothing that could help in a fight. But sitting here and watching felt wrong. Amy, how big is that Corvian ship? Big. About 3 times the size of those 6 we saw. Probably a command vessel or maybe a carrier. Heavy weapons, lots of crew. She looked at him. Scott, we really should leave. If that ship decides we are a threat, it could take us out without even slowing down. I know, but I need to see this. I need to know what happens. Amy bit her lip, then nodded. Okay, but if things go bad, we run. No arguments. Deal. They watched the sensors as the Corvian ship approached. It was moving slowly now, probably scanning the area. Scott imagined what the Corvian commander must be thinking. 6 of his ships destroyed. A human colony still intact. It would not make sense. The Corvians would want answers, and they would want revenge. The Corvian ship came to a stop about 10 kilometers from Haven Point. For several minutes, nothing happened. Scott held his breath, waiting. Then Amy said, "They are hailing the colony. Can you patch us in?" "Yeah, hold on." She adjusted the controls. A moment later, a voice came through the speakers. It was harsh and guttural, speaking in the Corvian language, but the Wanderer computer translated it automatically. "Human settlement. This is Commander Vrak of the Corvian Imperial Fleet. You have destroyed 6 vessels under my command. Explain yourself immediately or face total destruction." There was a pause. Then the tired voice from Haven Point responded, speaking slowly and clearly. "Commander Vrak, this is Haven Point Colony. Your ships attacked us without warning or provocation. They demanded our surrender and threatened to kill us if we refused. We defended ourselves. Under human law and interstellar treaty, we had the right to do so. Human law means nothing here. This system is now claimed by the Corvian Empire. You have 1 hour to evacuate your settlement and surrender to my custody. Anyone who remains will be considered an enemy combatant and dealt with accordingly. We are not leaving our home. Then you have chosen death. I will give you time to reconsider. 1 hour. Then I will level your colony and salt the earth so nothing ever grows there again." The transmission ended. Scott and Amy looked at each other in horror. "They are really going to do it," Amy whispered. "They are going to kill everyone." Scott grabbed the radio again. "Haven Point, this is Palmer. You need to evacuate now. Load everyone onto whatever ships you have and run. We can help. The Wanderer can take maybe 30 people. It is not much, but it is something." "Thank you, Captain, but no, we are not running." The voice sounded calmer now, almost peaceful. "We built this place with our own hands. We grew the crops, we dug the tunnels, we raised our children here. This is our home. If the Corvians want it, they are going to have to take it from us. You cannot win against that ship. It is too big, too powerful. Maybe, but we are going to try anyway. And Captain, if we lose, at least you can tell Earth what happened here. Tell them the Corvians came for us. Tell them we fought back. Tell them we died free." Scott wanted to argue more, but he could hear the finality in the man's voice. These people had made their choice. They would rather die fighting than abandon everything they had built. He understood that. He did not agree with it, but he understood. "Good luck," he said quietly. "Thank you. Now please move away from the colony. Get to a safe distance. What happens next is not going to be pretty." Scott nodded to Amy. "Take us out. 200 kilometers. Keep the colony and that Corvian ship on screen." The Wanderer moved away, her engines pushing her to what Scott hoped was a safe distance. As they went, he watched the Corvian vessel on the screen. It just hung there, waiting, silent and patient like a predator. An hour passed slowly. Scott and Amy did not talk. There was nothing to say. They just watched and waited. When the hour was up, the Corvian ship moved. It turned slowly, bringing its weapons to bear on Haven Point. Scott could see the gun ports opening, the missile tubes cycling. "Here it comes," Amy said. But before the Corvian ship could fire, something happened. All across Haven Point, lights flared to life. Not the gentle lights of a colony, but harsh spotlights that bathed the surrounding space in white brilliance. And then the colony opened fire. Mining lasers lanced out from hidden positions on the asteroid's surface. Missiles streaked from concealed tubes. Kinetic projectiles, just chunks of metal accelerated to incredible speeds, hammered into the Corvian ship's hull. The Corvian commander must have been surprised because his ship did not react immediately. For several precious seconds, it just hung there, absorbing the punishment. By the time its shields came online and its weapons started returning fire, the damage was already done. "Look at that," Amy breathed. "They are targeting specific systems again. Engines, weapons, sensor arrays. They are trying to cripple it, not destroy it." "Why?" Scott asked. "Why not just kill it? Maybe they want it disabled. Maybe they want to board it. I do not know." The battle raged for 10 minutes. The Corvian ship fought back hard, its weapons tearing into the asteroid. But the colonists had built their defenses well. The lasers and missile tubes were buried deep in the rock, protected by meters of stone, and they kept firing, relentless and precise. Scott watched in awe as the massive Corvian vessel began to break apart. First one engine went dark, then another. Weapons systems exploded. Hull sections cracked open, venting atmosphere into space, and through it all, Haven Point kept firing. Finally, the Corvian ship went silent. It hung in space, dead like the 6 that had come before it. Small explosions continued to ripple across its hull as secondary systems failed. It was done. Amy let out a breath she had been holding. They did it. They actually did it. Scott could not speak. He just stared at the screen, trying to process what he had seen. 200 colonists with mining equipment had just destroyed 7 Corvian warships. It should have been impossible, but he had watched it happen. The radio crackled. "Wanderer, this is Haven Point. Are you still there?" "Yes." "We are here. Are you all okay?" "We took some damage, but nothing we cannot fix. No casualties on our end." There was a pause. "Captain Palmer, I need you to update that message to Earth Command. Tell them about this ship too. Tell them everything you saw." "I will, but I have to ask, how did you do it? How did 200 people destroy 7 warships?" Another pause, longer this time. When the voice came back, it sounded different, harder. "Because we are not just farmers and miners, Captain. About half of the people who live here are veterans. We served in the resource wars. We fought on Europa, on Titan, in the Belt. We saw things. We did things, and when it was over, we came here because we wanted peace. We wanted to forget. But the Corvians did not give us that choice. They came here to take what was ours, so we remembered. We remembered all those things we tried so hard to forget, and we used them." Scott felt a chill run down his spine. The resource wars had been brutal. Humanity fighting over water and minerals in the outer solar system. Millions had died. The veterans who survived had come home with scars, physical and mental. Many had just wanted to disappear, to find somewhere quiet where the nightmares could not reach them. Haven Point had been that place, until now. "What happens now?" Scott asked. Now we wait. We wait for Earth Command to respond. We wait for the Corvians to send more ships, because they will. We wait and we prepare, because this is not over. It is just beginning. Do you think Earth will help you? I do not know. We are just a small colony. We have no strategic value. Earth might decide we are not worth starting a war over. The voice became quieter. But we hope they will. We hope they will remember that we are human, and that means something. Scott looked at Amy. She nodded. We will make sure they remember. We will tell them everything. Thank you, Captain. That is all we can ask. Haven Point out. The radio went silent. Scott and Amy sat in the quiet of their ship, staring at the screen. Haven Point floated there, scarred but intact. Around it drifted 7 dead Corvian warships, monuments to what happens when you push peaceful people too far. We should send that update, Amy said. Yeah. Scott started typing, trying to find the words to explain what they had witnessed. It was not easy. How do you describe a miracle? Because that is what it was, really. A miracle born of desperation and skill and people who refused to give up. He finished the message and sent it off into the void, hoping it would make a difference. Hoping Earth Command would understand. Hoping they would send help before the Corvians came back in even greater numbers. But even as he hoped, Scott knew the truth. The Corvians had made a mistake. They had thought Haven Point would be an easy target. A quiet little colony full of weak humans who would surrender without a fight. Instead, they had found soldiers. Warriors who had hung up their weapons and tried to find peace. Warriors who would fight one more time if they had to. And now the Corvians' entire sector would learn what humanity had always known but sometimes forgot. The most dangerous enemies are not the ones who want to fight. They are the ones who know how to fight, who have seen the cost of war, and who will pay that cost one more time to protect what they love. The Corvians had invaded humanity's quietest colony, expecting an easy victory. Instead, they had found something that would haunt them for generations to come. 7 warships destroyed, thousands of their warriors dead, and all of it done by people who just wanted to be left alone. The word would spread, from ship to ship, from base to base, across the Corvian Empire. Haven Point would become a legend, a warning, a story told in hushed voices. The place where an armada died, the place where humans who wanted peace proved they could still make war. And in the years to come, when Corvian commanders planned their campaigns and chose their targets, they would think twice before attacking any human settlement. Because if Haven Point, the quietest of all colonies, could do this, what might the others be capable of? Scott looked at Amy and saw his own thoughts reflected in her face. They had witnessed something today that would change everything. The balance of power in this region of space had shifted, not because of Earth's military might or political maneuvering, but because 200 people refused to be victims. "We should stay," Scott said suddenly, "until Earth Command responds, just to make sure they are okay." Amy smiled. "I was hoping you would say that. Set a watch schedule." "Yeah, you take first shift. Wake me if anything changes." He left the bridge and went to his quarters, but he knew he would not sleep. His mind was too full of questions and images. The silent colony, the destroyed ships, the tired voice that had spoken of wanting peace but knowing how to make war. Outside his window, the stars shone cold and indifferent, but somewhere in that darkness, Haven Point continued to turn, defiant and unbroken. A beacon not of weakness but of strength. A reminder that humans, when pushed far enough, would always find a way to survive. And the Corvians, they had learned that lesson the hard way. 7 ships lost, 7 crews dead, an entire sector now silent, watching and waiting, wondering what would happen if they made the same mistake. Scott closed his eyes and tried to rest, but the images kept playing in his mind. The battle, the lasers, the explosions, the quiet determination in that tired voice. They had invaded humanity's quietest colony. And now their entire sector was silent, learning fear for the first time in their proud history. Learning that sometimes, the quiet ones are the most dangerous of all. 3 days after the battle, Captain Scott Palmer was still at Haven Point. The Wanderer sat in orbit, her crew of 2 watching and waiting. Earth Command had received their report but had not yet responded with orders. So Scott and Amy stayed, keeping watch over the colony like guardian angels. On the morning of the 4th day, everything changed. Amy woke him with a hand on his shoulder. "Scott, you need to see this. We have company." He was on the bridge in less than a minute, still pulling on his jacket. The sensor display showed 3 ships approaching, big ones, but the identification tags made him relax slightly. "Earth Defense Force," Amy said. "Looks like a destroyer and 2 frigates. They are broadcasting standard approach protocols." "Finally," Scott muttered. "Open a channel." A voice came through, crisp and military. "Cargo Vessel Wanderer, this is EDF Destroyer Resolute. We are here to assess the situation at Haven Point. Please transmit all sensor logs and stand by for boarding." Scott frowned. "Boarding? We already sent everything in our report." "Standard procedure, Captain Palmer. We need to verify your account firsthand. Please prepare to receive our inspection team." Amy looked at Scott. "They think we made it up, or exaggerated. Can you blame them?" 7 Corvian warships destroyed by a mining colony. It does sound impossible. The inspection team arrived an hour later. 3 officers in crisp uniforms, led by a woman with commander stripes on her sleeve. She introduced herself as Commander Lisa Brooks, no relation to the Haven Point administrator. She was professional but cool, her eyes taking in every detail of the Wanderer as if looking for signs of deception. They spent 2 hours going through the sensor logs, asking questions, cross-referencing every detail. Finally, Commander Brooks sat back and looked at Scott. "Your report is accurate, that much is clear. But I need to understand something, Captain. Why did you stay? You could have left after the first battle. Why risk your ship and your life for a colony that is not your responsibility?" Scott thought about that. "Because they needed someone to witness, someone to make sure the truth got told. And because it felt wrong to abandon them." Brooks nodded slowly. I see. Well, you have done your part. We will take it from here. You are released from any further obligation. You can go. What about Haven Point? What happens to them? That is above your pay grade, Captain, and mine, frankly. Earth Command is still deciding how to handle this situation. Until then, we are here to make sure no more Corvian ships show up. The inspection team left. Scott watched them shuttle back to the Resolute, then turned to Amy. She was chewing her bottom lip, a sure sign she was worried. We should go, she said. We have delivered our cargo to the next system. We are already 3 days behind schedule. Yeah, Scott agreed, but he did not give the order to leave. Instead, he kept staring at Haven Point on the screen. After a moment, Amy said softly, You want to talk to them, do not you? The colonists. I just want to know they are okay. That they understand help has arrived. The military will tell them. Will they, or will they just start asking questions and treating the colonists like suspects? Amy sighed. Okay, send them a message. Then we really do need to go. Scott opened a channel to Haven Point. This is Captain Palmer. Earth Defense Forces have arrived. You should be safe now. I wanted to say goodbye and good luck. You people are amazing. Take care of yourselves. He waited. For a long moment there was no response. Then the same tired voice from before came through. Thank you, Captain, for staying, for caring. Most people would not have. We will not forget it. You take care, Scott said. Then he closed the channel and turned to Amy. Okay, plot a course for the next system. Let us get back to work. The Wanderer left Haven Point behind, her engines pushing her back into the darkness between stars. Scott tried to focus on the normal routine of cargo hauling, but his mind kept drifting back to the colony and the 7 dead ships floating around it. 2 weeks passed. The Wanderer delivered her cargo, picked up a new load, and moved on to the next job. Life returned to normal, or it should have. But Scott could not shake the feeling that something important had happened at Haven Point, something that would change everything. He was proven right when they reached the next major station, a trading hub called Crossroads. The place was buzzing with activity and rumors. Everyone was talking about Haven Point. Scott and Amy went to a bar to hear what people were saying. The stories were wild. Some said Haven Point had secret weapons. Others claimed they had help from alien allies. A few insisted the whole thing was propaganda, that Earth had destroyed the Corvian ships and was blaming it on the colony. But one thing everyone agreed on, the Corvians were furious. They were demanding answers, demanding compensation, demanding that someone pay for the deaths of their warriors. A grizzled old pilot at the bar looked at Scott and said, You hear the latest. Earth Command is actually considering handing over the colonists. Can you believe that? Giving them to the Corvians just to keep the peace. Scott felt his blood run cold. That cannot be true. Those people were defending themselves. True or not, that is what people are saying. The politicians are scared. The Corvians have a bigger fleet, more territory, more resources. Earth does not want a war, so maybe they sacrifice one small colony to avoid one. Scott stood up so fast his chair fell over. Amy grabbed his arm. Scott, what are you doing? We need to go back. We need to warn them. Go back, Scott. We are just cargo pilots. We cannot do anything about this. Maybe not. But we can at least tell them what is coming. They deserve to know. Amy stared at him for a long moment, then she sighed. Okay, but this is crazy. You know that, right? Yeah, I know. They left their cargo at Crossroads, claiming engine trouble that needed time to fix. Then they pointed the Wanderer back toward Haven Point and jumped to faster than light speed. The journey took 3 days. When they dropped out of FTL near Haven Point, Scott immediately knew something was different. The EDF ships were still there, but now there were more of them, and they had taken up defensive positions around the colony. That is a blockade formation, Amy said, her voice tight. Scott, I think they are getting ready to arrest the colonists. Before Scott could respond, the radio crackled. Cargo vessel Wanderer, this is the Resolute. You are entering a restricted zone. State your business immediately. Scott grabbed the microphone. Resolute, this is Captain Palmer. I was here before, remember. I need to speak with Commander Brooks. Commander Brooks is busy. You need to leave this area now, Captain. That is an order. Not until I know what is happening. Are you really going to hand those people over to the Corvians? There was a long pause. Then a different voice came through. Commander Brooks. Captain Palmer, you should not be here. This is a military operation. So it is true. You are going to arrest them. I am following orders. Earth Command has decided that the colonists must answer for their actions. They will be taken into custody and transported to a neutral location for diplomatic negotiations with the Corvians. Diplomatic negotiations? You mean they are going to be handed over like criminals? They defended themselves. They killed Corvian citizens. That has consequences, Captain. I do not like this any more than you do, but I have my orders. Now leave before I have you arrested for interfering with military operations. Scott closed his eyes, thinking fast. He could not fight a destroyer and 6 frigates. The Wanderer had no weapons, but maybe he did not need weapons. Maybe he just needed to be loud enough. Amy, open a broadcast on all civilian frequencies. Maximum range. Scott, what are you doing? Making noise. Do it. She hesitated, then nodded. Channel open. Scott took a deep breath and spoke. This is Captain Scott Palmer of the cargo vessel Wanderer. I am broadcasting from Haven Point Colony. I am here to witness Earth Defense Forces preparing to arrest 200 civilians who defended themselves against an unprovoked Corvian attack. These people fought with mining tools against warships and won. Now Earth wants to hand them over to keep the Corvians happy. I am asking anyone who hears this to spread the word. The people of Haven Point deserve better. They deserve justice. They deserve to be protected, not sacrificed. Captain Palmer, shut down that transmission now. Brooks' voice was sharp with anger. No, people need to know what is happening here. You are interfering with military operations. I can have you arrested, your ship impounded, your license revoked. Then do it, but I am not shutting up. Not until someone with actual authority tells me those colonists are going to be protected. Amy touched his arm. Scott, we are getting responses. Lots of them. Other ships in the area are picking up the broadcast. They are asking questions, demanding answers. Scott felt a grim satisfaction. Keep broadcasting. Tell everyone what you saw, the battle, the destroyed ships, everything. For the next hour, the Wanderer sat in space, broadcasting the truth about Haven Point. Amy sent out sensor logs, photographs of the destroyed Corvian ships, recordings of their conversations with the colonists. Everything. And the response was immediate. Ships all across the sector picked up the story. News services started reporting it. Politicians started getting calls from angry citizens. Social media exploded with outrage. 2 hours after Scott started broadcasting, Commander Brooks called him back. She sounded tired. Captain Palmer, you have caused quite a mess. Earth Command is very unhappy with you. I do not care. What about the colonists? My orders have been revised. We are not to arrest them at this time. The situation is under review. Scott felt a wave of relief. So they are safe. For now, but this is not over, Captain. The Corvians are still demanding justice. This problem has not gone away. Maybe, but at least now people know the truth, and that matters. Brooks was silent for a moment. Then she said quietly, You are either very brave or very stupid, Captain Palmer. I have not decided which yet, but for what it is worth, I hope you are right. Those people down there deserve better than what they almost got. Now get out of here before I change my mind about arresting you. The channel closed. Scott looked at Amy and saw relief on her face. We did it, she said. We actually did it. Maybe for now, but Brooks is right. This is not over. Before they could leave, the radio crackled again. This time it was the voice from Haven Point, the tired man who had spoken to them before. Captain Palmer, this is David Green from Haven Point. I wanted to thank you. What you did just now, broadcasting the truth, that took courage. You did not have to do that. You put yourself at risk for us. We will not forget it. Scott felt his throat tight. You are welcome. I just hope it helps. It already has. People are talking. People are asking questions. That is more than we had before. Whatever happens next, at least the truth is out there. And that matters more than you know. What will you do now? Scott asked. The same thing we have always done. We will work. We will build. We will take care of each other, and if someone comes for us again, we will defend ourselves, because this is our home, and nobody gets to take that away from us. Scott smiled. There was strength in that voice now, not just tiredness, determination instead of fear. Haven Point had found something important in that battle. They had found their courage, and they were not going to let it go. Good luck, David. Take care of your people. You too, Captain. Safe travels. This time when the Wanderer left Haven Point, Scott felt better about it. The colonists were not alone anymore. The whole sector knew their story. and that would make it much harder for anyone to quietly sacrifice them. But as the days passed, Scott realized that the story of Haven Point was spreading far beyond what he had imagined. It was not just the sector that knew, it was everyone. The whole human sphere was talking about the mining colony that destroyed 7 Corvian warships, and the Corvians were listening. 3 weeks after Scott's broadcast, news broke that changed everything. The Corvian Empire had issued a formal statement. They acknowledged that their ships had been destroyed at Haven Point. They acknowledged that they had attacked first, and they announced that they were withdrawing their demand for the colonists to be handed over. But the reason they gave shocked everyone. The Corvian statement said that they had underestimated human capability. They had thought that a small civilian colony would be weak and easy to dominate. They had been proven wrong, and rather than continue a conflict that would cost them more warriors, they were choosing to respect human territorial claims. In other words, the Corvians were backing down, not because of Earth military might, not because of diplomatic pressure, but because 200 farmers and miners had shown them that humans would fight when pushed. Amy read the news article out loud on the bridge of the Wanderer. When she finished, she looked at Scott with wide eyes. "They are scared. The Corvians are actually scared of us now." "Not scared," Scott said slowly. "Respectful. They respect strength. And Haven Point showed them that humans have strength even in our smallest settlements, even when we do not want to fight. So what happens now? Now things change. The Corvians will think twice before attacking human colonies. Other species will hear about this and wonder what we are capable of. And Haven Point will become a legend, the place where everything shifted." 6 months later, Scott and Amy found themselves back at Crossroads Station. They were delivering another load of cargo, just like always, but everything felt different now. The bar where they had first heard rumors about Haven Point was packed. Scott and Amy found a table in the corner and ordered drinks. Around them, people were talking loudly about the changes sweeping through the sector. The Corvians had pulled back from several disputed territories. Not all of them, but enough to make a difference. More importantly, they had stopped making threats against human colonies. The aggressive expansion that had worried Earth Command for years had simply stopped. A young pilot at the next table was telling his friends the story of Haven Point for what must have been the 100th time that day. "They used mining lasers. Can you believe it? They turned regular tools into weapons and took out 7 warships." "7," his friend laughed. "I heard the Corvians are telling the story too. They call it the Battle of the Silent Colony. They use it to teach their warriors not to underestimate opponents." Amy leaned close to Scott. "Silent Colony. That is an interesting name. Because their entire sector went silent after," Scott said. "No more threats, no more attacks, just silence, respectful silence." A woman at the bar overheard them and turned around. "You two are the cargo pilots, right? The ones who were there, who broadcast the truth?" Scott felt his face flush. "Yeah, that was us. I want to buy you a drink, both of you. What you did, making sure people knew what really happened, that took guts. A lot of people are grateful." Before Scott could respond, several other people chimed in, wanting to buy them drinks too. Amy laughed and accepted graciously, but Scott felt uncomfortable with the attention. Later, when they were alone again, Amy said, "You okay? You look stressed." "I just keep thinking about David Green and the others at Haven Point. Everyone is celebrating them like heroes, but I remember how he sounded on the radio. Tired, scared, like he had done something terrible." "He had done something terrible," Amy said softly. "Killing is always terrible even when it is necessary, but that does not mean he was wrong. Those people fought for their lives and their home. They should be honored for that. I know, I just hope they are okay, that they found some peace after everything." As if summoned by his thoughts, Scott's personal communicator beeped. He pulled it out and saw a message from an unknown sender. When he opened it, he recognized the address: Haven Point Colony. Message was short. "Captain Palmer, this is David Green. I wanted you to know that we are doing well. Life has returned to normal, or as normal as it can be after everything that happened. We still farm, we still mine, we still take care of each other. The Earth Defense Forces left last week. They are no longer needed. The Corvians have kept their distance, and we think they will continue to do so. We have visitors now, though. Other colonists who heard our story and wanted to join us. We are growing." becoming something more than we were. Thank you for everything you did. You gave us time to breathe, time to think, time to become more than victims. We will never forget that. If you are ever near Haven Point again, please stop by. You will always be welcome here. Your friend David Green. Scott showed the message to Amy. She read it and smiled. They are okay. They made it through. Yeah, they did. Scott felt a weight lift from his chest. He had been carrying worry about Haven Point for months, wondering if his actions had helped or just made things worse. Now he knew. They were okay, more than okay, they were thriving. Should we visit them? Amy asked. We could swing by on our next run through that sector. Maybe, yeah, I would like that. They finished their drinks and left the bar. Outside, Crossroads Station buzzed with life and activity. Ships came and went, carrying goods and people across the sector. Everything seemed normal, routine. But Scott knew that nothing was truly normal anymore. The battle at Haven Point had changed things in ways that were still unfolding. The Corvians had learned that humans were not easy targets. Other species were watching and reassessing their assumptions. And human colonies, even the small and quiet ones, now had a reputation. They invaded our Quietest colony, expecting weakness. Instead, they found strength. They found veterans who had come looking for peace but still remembered how to fight. They found people who would rather die defending their home than surrender it. And now their entire sector was silent. Not the silence of fear, but the silence of respect. The silence of warriors who had learned a hard lesson about underestimating their opponents. As Scott and Amy walked back to the Wanderer, preparing for their next journey, Scott thought about the future. He thought about all the small colonies scattered across human space. Farmers and miners and artists and people who just wanted to live in peace. He used to think they were vulnerable, easy targets for any aggressive species that came along. But Haven Point had taught him something important. Those quiet colonies were not weak. They were strong in ways that did not show on sensors or military assessments. They were strong because they knew what they were fighting for. Not territory or resources or political power. Just home. Just family. Just the simple right to exist in peace. And there was no stronger motivation than that. Years would pass. The story of Haven Point would be told and retold, becoming legend. Children would grow up hearing about the mining colony that destroyed 7 warships with nothing but tools and courage. Military academies would study the tactics used. Diplomats would reference it in negotiations. But the people at Haven Point would just keep living. They would plant crops and dig minerals and raise their children. They would remember what they had done, but they would not let it define them, because they were not warriors first. They were builders, farmers, dreamers. The Corvians had learned that lesson the hard way. They had invaded humanity's Quietest colony and lost everything. Not just ships and warriors, but something more important. They had lost their assumption of superiority. They had lost their certainty that they could take what they wanted without consequence. And in losing that, their entire sector had gone silent. Silent with new understanding. Silent with grudging respect. Silent with the knowledge that humanity, even at its smallest and quietest, was not to be trifled with. Scott climbed aboard the Wanderer and settled into his captain's chair. Amy was already running pre-flight checks. Outside the viewport, the stars beckoned, infinite and mysterious. "Ready?" Amy asked. "Yeah, let us go. We have cargo to deliver." The Wanderer pulled away from the station and headed into the darkness. Behind them, the lights of Crossroads faded. Ahead, the universe waited with all its dangers and wonders. But Scott was not worried, because he had seen what humans could do when pushed. He had seen courage and determination and the refusal to give up. He had seen Haven Point, and if one small colony could change the balance of power in an entire sector, imagine what all of humanity could accomplish together. The future was uncertain. There would be more challenges, more conflicts, more moments where humanity would have to choose between surrender and resistance. But Scott had faith now. Faith that when those moments came, humans would choose to stand, would choose to fight, would choose to protect what mattered, just like Haven Point had done, just like they always would. The end.